Welcome to part 3 of the three-part video series discussing the Southwest Valley Community Plan Update Program. My name is Lucy Martinez, and I'm one of the planners on the Southwest Valley Community Plan Update team, and I will be walking you through today's presentation. The first video in this series provided an introduction to the community plans, proposed boundary changes, and a brief overview of the city's new zoning code. The second video focused on presenting the Community Plan Update vision and strategies for the Southwest Valley, and in this video we will explore the Ventura-Cahuenga Boulevard corridor-specific plan and its place within the Community Plan Update. This presentation will provide an overview of the specific plan area, existing regulations, current context, the relationship between the housing element and the specific plan area, the proposed general land use designations, and potential changes and improvements for the specific plan area in the Southwest Valley. The Ventura-Cahuenga Boulevard corridor-specific plan is one of the longest specific plans in the city, spanning 17 miles across the South San Fernando Valley. Within the Southwest Valley, it is located primarily along Ventura Boulevard, traversing the communities of Encino, Tarzana, and Woodland Hills. Previously, updates to the land use portion of the specific plan area were under the purview of the Specific Plan Amendment Program. However, in August 2021, City Planning delegated the rezoning portion of the specific plan to the Community Plan Update teams in the Southwest and Southeast Valley in order to speed the corridor's post-pandemic recovery. The Specific Plan Amendments team's effort would then focus on issues of immediate concern to businesses and stakeholders along the corridor, such as streamlining signage clearances, transportation fees and expenditures, and modernizing transportation strategies. The incorporation of the specific plan's rezoning effort into the Community Plan Update Program will allow a more effective use of city resources while supporting community-by-community zoning that respects each neighborhood's priorities. We will begin with an overview of the specific plan, its regulations, goals, and objectives. The specific plan is composed of the specific plan text and maps, which establish land uses, development standards, specific plan area boundaries, and identify sub-areas such as the pedestrian-oriented areas referred as POAs. There are 3 land use categories established by the specific plan: neighborhood and office commercial, community commercial, and regional commercial, and each land use has its own development regulations. The POAs have additional regulations to encourage higher levels of pedestrian activity by promoting pedestrian access into buildings and regulating frontages and building placement. The POAs also limit uses in the area to a specific list of uses known as Tier 1 and Tier 2 uses, as well as prohibit drive-throughs and auto-oriented uses. The plan was established in 1991 primarily to regulate new commercial development along the corridor that was generating increased travel trips resulting in congestion. The plan was amended to address the increase in traffic generated by increased development by expanding the pedestrian-oriented areas, which would encourage pedestrian activity and minimize multiple automobile trips. Currently, the specific plan regulates floor area ratios, height, lot coverage, uses, development standards, parking, signs, and project impact fees. Streetscape plans provide design guidelines to help create pedestrian-oriented environments along the public right-of-way in specific areas within each community. The Southwest Valley Community Plan Update Program as a whole aims to plan for strategic growth in a way that addresses climate change, sustainability, equity, and the need for complete neighborhoods. These goals and strategies stem from the need to increase accessibility to jobs, housing, and open space, place housing near jobs and services, create a diversity of housing options, include affordable housing, minimize displacement of low and moderate income groups, and support employment and commerce within the 3 community plans. These goals are embedded in the proposed community guiding principles and strategies in a way that respond to the unique characteristics and needs of each community plan. In the following slide, we will explore how the proposed guiding principles for the Southwest Valley Community Plan Update align with the original goals and purposes of the Ventura-Cahuenga specific plan. This is a side-by-side comparison of the proposed Southwest Valley Community Plan guiding principles on the left and the existing goals and purposes of the specific plan on the right. The guiding principles include strengthening key employment hubs and corridors and supporting a mix of commercial uses that serve the local and regional population. Similarly, the specific plan promotes the development of Ventura Boulevard as a premier commercial corridor, as well as encourage a balance of commercial land uses that would address the needs of surrounding communities. The guiding principles also propose to humanize streets and help create an accessible public realm with bikeable, walkable, and transit-served streets, which would promote a pedestrian environment and reduce traffic congestion by promoting other modes of transportation. This aligns with the specific plan's purpose to encourage pedestrian activity and minimize multiple automobile trips as a strategy to reduce traffic congestion. The community plan guiding principles also propose to accommodate growth in a strategic, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable manner, which supports the goals of the specific plan to create a balance between transportation infrastructure and land use. Finally, the community plan seeks to raise design expectations, which aligns with the specific plan's purpose of creating building and site design guidelines that promote attractive and harmonious multifamily and commercial development. As we can see here, folding the rezoning portion of the Ventura-Cahuenga corridor-specific plan aligns with the overarching goals of the community plan update, and in the same vein, allows city planning to create an integrated land use that reflects a collective vision for the South Valley. Now, we will discuss the specific plan area in the current context. The specific plan was established in 1991, and at that time, approximately 20 million square feet of commercial development was expected to develop throughout the entire specific plan area. However, in the last 30 years, only 3.5 million square feet of commercial development was actually built, which is approximately 17.5% of the expected development. The specific plan was established primarily to regulate commercial development. However, recent trends have shown that residential development has outpaced commercial development due to an increased demand for housing near shopping, services, and amenities along the boulevard. Furthermore, although the specific plan limits medical uses, current development trends have shown a growing demand for medical uses in the specific plan area. The specific plan area and surrounding neighborhoods have also experienced increased transit investments over the last few decades. This increase in transportation infrastructure has resulted in increased regional connectivity and convenient local connections to employment, shopping, and education. Existing transit lines serving Ventura Boulevard include Line 240 and Line 150, providing connections with the Metro G line and CSUN to the north, and the V line to the east, with service frequencies of 10 and 20 minutes during peak times, respectively. In addition, the specific plan area has transit connections to the west side via Commuter Express 523 and Line 761, to Thousand Oaks via Line 161 and Commuter Express Line 422, and connections to North Hollywood, Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena via Commuter Express Line 523. Local transit connections also provide access to important employment centers such as Warner Center and the industrial areas located near the G line in Canoga Park and Tarzana. Proposed future transit will increase regional connectivity, increasing access to the Ventura-Cahuenga specific plan area. The Sepulveda Transit Corridor is a metro project that is proposing 6 alternative routes, which will connect Ventura Boulevard to the west side and also other areas of the San Fernando Valley. Alternatives 1, 2, and 3 are proposing stops near the specific plan area at the intersection of the 101 and the 405 freeways near Sepulveda Boulevard and Ventura Boulevard. Alternatives 4 and 5 propose stops at the intersection of Ventura Boulevard and Sepulveda Boulevard. Option 6 proposes a stop at the intersection of Ventura Boulevard and Banais Boulevard, which will be accessible via Line 240, which services Ventura Boulevard every 10 minutes during peak time. These future transit investment will create opportunities for transit-oriented development near high-quality transit, jobs, housing, amenities, and services. On November 24, 2021, the Housing Element 2021-2029, also known as the Plan to Housing LA, was adopted by the LA City Council. The Housing Element identified the following goals: a city where housing production results in an ample supply of housing to create a more equitable and affordable options that meet existing and projected needs. A city that preserves and enhances the quality of housing and provides greater housing stability for households of all income levels. A city in which housing creates healthy, livable, sustainable, and resilient communities that improve the lives of all Angelenos. A city that fosters racially and socially inclusive neighborhoods and corrects the harms of historic, racial, ethnic, and social discrimination of the past and present. and a city that is committed to preventing and ending homelessness. The community plan update will be consistent with the housing element goals and policies. As part of the citywide effort to update the housing element, the city developed a number of maps to help identify properties citywide, which can help meet the needs for housing in a way that addresses the city's goals. This map identifies high resource areas in the Encino Tarzana and the Canoga Park, Winnetka, Woodland Hills, West Hills Community Plan areas. The map reflects the data from the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee and the California Department of Housing and Community Development Opportunity Maps, which were developed by the state as a way to measure and visualize place-based characteristics linked to critical life outcomes such as educational attainment, earning from employment, and economic mobility, which are elements that characterize higher opportunity areas. The housing element places a strong emphasis on expanding housing capacity, particularly affordable housing capacity in higher opportunity areas of the city, which will be in compliance with state law requirements to affirmatively further fair housing. As we can see here, the specific plan area is located within the highest tiers of opportunity, indicating that this is a high resource, high opportunity area. In 2021, Los Angeles City Planning and the Los Angeles Housing Department presented the Fair Share Housing Report on short-term and long-term policies to promote the equitable distribution of new affordable housing units within the city. This report identified how the city's housing element and the community plan update programs may be used to establish a fair share distribution of affordable housing citywide. As the map on the right shows, this analysis found that most of the affordable housing units produced between 2009 and 2020 were located in high segregation poverty areas of the city. The table on the left shows that the Canoga Park, Winnetka, Woodland Hills, West Hills, and the Encino Tarzana community plans produced less than 2% and 1% respectively of all the affordable housing units produced during that period. Key findings of that analysis also showed that mixed income affordable housing is more likely to be built than 100% affordable housing units in high opportunity areas, that there is a disproportionate amount of land zoned for single family in high resource areas than in high segregation poverty areas of the city, and that funding criteria made it more difficult to build affordable housing in high opportunity areas. In order to promote equity and increase access to affordable housing in the city, the housing element also identifies sites citywide that could help meet the goals of affirmatively furthering fair housing, which entails taking meaningful actions in addition to combating discrimination that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. These actions must taken together address significant disparities in housing needs and in access to opportunity, replace segregated living patterns with truly integrated and balanced living patterns, transform racially and ethnically concentrated areas of poverty into areas of opportunity, and foster and maintain compliance with civil rights and fair housing laws. As we can see in this map, the specific plan area was identified as an area which could help meet fair housing goals. Each site identified in the adequate sites inventory is listed in the Inventory of Candidate Sites for Rezoning, Appendix 4.7 of the 2021-2029 housing element, and linked to one or more specific rezoning strategies, which we will discuss in the next few slides. It is important to note that the rezoning program Candidate Sites Inventory identifies many more sites and potential units that may actually be chosen for rezoning. This was purposeful to allow for the flexibility for future conversations on the rezoning strategies and sites. One of the housing element strategies is the 50% density bonus program. This map shows sites in the Southwest Valley which were identified for a potential 50% density bonus program, which would allow a 50% increase in exchange for affordable housing. As we can see in this map, portions of the specific plan area were identified to be potentially included in this program. Currently, state law under AB 2345 allowed for a similar 50% density bonus, but the city was allowed to create its own version of the bonus in a way that would best align incentives and requirements with city programs and to better address local displacement concerns. Another strategy from the housing element includes the Transit Opportunity Corridor Areas or TOPPC program in which commercially zoned sites in higher opportunity areas located on high-quality transit corridors could provide additional development bonuses in exchange for affordable housing. This strategy is proposed in the Encino and Tarzana neighborhoods of the Ventura-Cahuenga specific plan in the Southwest Valley. The Affordable Housing Overlay Strategy seeks to maximize affordable housing production, promote mixed-income communities, and provide advantages to majority affordable projects. As we can see in this map, neighborhoods surrounding the Ventura-Cahuenga corridor-specific plan area within the Encino-Tarzana community plan were identified as a potential area for these housing strategies. Finally, the specific plan area within the Encino neighborhood was also identified as a potential area to utilize housing strategies, which include allowing the construction of micro-units in regional center land use designation areas. In this segment, we will focus on potential changes and improvements for the specific plan area. We will discuss the proposed general land use designations for the specific plan area, potential boundary changes, potential changes for the pedestrian-oriented areas, and explore how the new zoning code and new zoning tools can increase opportunities and bring improvements to the specific plan area. General planned land use designations determine where uses are permitted and at what intensity or density. Ventura Boulevard is the premier commercial corridor of the South San Fernando Valley. We envision the corridor as a lively mixed-use corridor with inviting streetscapes, active ground floor retail spaces, and residential units above to promote walkability and access along the corridor. This chart shows the existing land use designations of the specific plan, which include regional commercial, community commercial, and neighborhood and general commercial. Consistent with the Community Plan Update Program, as part of this effort, we are proposing 4 land use designations: regional center, community center, neighborhood center, and villages. As mentioned earlier, current development trends have shown there is a demand for residential development along the corridor. In step with the strategies identified by the 2021-2029 housing element, the proposed community plan land uses would help us provide a framework for the creation of a mixed-use corridor providing opportunities for housing and jobs. The base FAR along the Southwest Valley area will be streamlined to 1.5 to 1 to match other commercial corridors in the city. Any additional FAR may only be reached if the property is located within a Community Plan Implementation Overlay, or CPIO. The Regional Center Land Use designation would have a max range of 6 FAR, Community Center will have a max range of 4 FAR, Neighborhood Center will have a max range of 4 FAR, and Villages a max range of 4.5 FAR. As mentioned before, the maximum FAR may only be reached if the property is located within a CPIO area. We will now look at each of the land use proposals. The Regional Center land use is proposed in Encino between Balboa Boulevard to the east and the 405 freeway to the west. Regional center areas are vibrant places of activity that function as hubs of regional commerce and activity, and are typically located along commercial corners, concentrated nodes, or adjacent to major transit hubs. The building form ranges from low to mid, with the floor area ratio ranging from 0.1 to 6. The use range is broad and may include commercial, residential, institutional, cultural, and entertainment facilities and neighborhood serving uses. The community center land use is proposed in Woodland Hills between Serrania and Corbin Avenue, in Tarzana between Corbin and Krebs Avenue, and in Encino between Ediwanda and Lewis Avenue. Community centers are vibrant places of activity typically located along commercial corners, concentrated nodes, or adjacent to major transit hubs. The building form ranges from very low to low, with a floor area ratio ranging between 0.1 and 4. The use range is broad and may include commercial, residential, institutional facilities, cultural and entertainment facilities, and neighborhood serving uses. The neighborhood center land use is proposed in Woodland Hills between Arroyo Calabazas Creek and Royer Avenue and between Sale Avenue and the US 101 freeway overpass. Neighborhood center areas are focal points for surrounding residential neighborhoods and include uses that serve the needs of residents and employees. The building form is low with a floor area ratio ranging between 0.1 and 4 and is characterized by pedestrian scale commercial development. Uses generally include a mix of residential and commercial uses such as local businesses and services. The last land use proposed is the village's land use, which is characterized by fine-grained and porous development patterns. Retail uses on the ground floor of active streets in these areas provide a lively and safe pedestrian atmosphere. A range of housing types for all incomes and family sizes are integrated with commercial uses, such as restaurants, retail, and services to create complete neighborhoods. This land use is proposed in the pedestrian-oriented areas of the specific plan, which were meant to incentivize high levels of pedestrian activity by regulating the placement of buildings and structures to accommodate outdoor dining and other ground floor level retail activity, creating greater pedestrian connectivity between the street and the developments, establishing additional landscaping requirements, and adopting use limitations such as the prohibition of drive-throughs and auto-oriented uses, as well as limiting uses to Tier 1 and Tier 2, which are considered to be pedestrian-oriented. We will explore these areas in the following slides. The village's land use is also proposed in areas along the boulevard which possess elements of complete neighborhoods, such as walkability, pedestrian-oriented uses and development, are located near employment, have access to transit, have existing community investment, community facilities, and open space. The village's land use would encourage future development in these areas to be pedestrian-oriented. The village land use is proposed not only along the existing pedestrian-oriented area in Woodland Hills located between Topanga Canyon and Canoga Avenue, but is also proposed to expand between Shoup Avenue to the west and DeSoto to the east. This area is located near Warner Center, which is an employment center, has access to transit, and has a great number of uses that support complete neighborhoods. The village land use would allow future development to become more pedestrian-oriented. The village's land use is also proposed for the location of the Reimagine Ventura initiative between Sale Avenue and Royer Avenue. This initiative has the goal of creating a neighborhood-scaled Main Street for Woodland Hills, which supports local businesses, creates a better sense of place by providing angled street parking, provides enhanced landscaping, and adds pedestrian improvements. The village's land use would further the goals of this initiative by incentivizing fine-grained pedestrian-oriented development and uses. In Tarzana, the village's land use is proposed along the existing pedestrian-oriented area between Krebs Avenue and Reseda Boulevard, and is proposed to extend north up to the US 101 freeway and include the parcels west of Reseda Boulevard and up to 81 the streets to the east, except by the Providence Cedars Sinai Tarzana Medical Center, which is not part of the specific plan, and its land use will be updated as part of the Encino Tarzana Community Plan update. This area has many elements of complete neighborhoods, such as access to employment, access to shopping and services, and access to transit with connections to the G Line, B Line, and C-Zone. The existing pedestrian-oriented area in Encino is located between Balboa Boulevard and Noah Line Avenue in green, and is currently designated as a regional commercial and is proposed to be maintained as a regional land use designation. The village land use in Encino is being proposed between Louise Avenue and Balboa Boulevard and is characterized as a walkable area that has served as a downtown area for Encino. The village land use here would incentivize any future development to continue to promote walkability, pedestrian-oriented development, and uses in this area. We will now go over the proposed boundary changes for the specific plan. The specific plan was primarily meant to regulate commercial development. However, there are a number of multifamily and single-family designated parcels as part of the specific plan. Changes to the boundaries are proposed to include only properties with proposed commercial land uses, remove properties with proposed residential land uses, realign boundaries to include entire parcels with proposed commercial land uses, and add adjacent properties with proposed commercial land uses which are outside the specific plan. The brown outlined properties in these maps show the proposed add areas to the specific plan. Now we will explore the relationship between the specific plan regulations and the new zoning code. The new zoning code is divided in districts. The regulations of the specific plan can be unfolded into different districts of the zoning stream. For example, FAR, height, and lot coverage will be housed in the form district. The frontage district would house many of the regulations of the pedestrian-oriented areas, such as building orientation and front yard setbacks. The standards districts would include the development standards, such as parking requirements and sign regulations. The use district would determine the uses allowed in different areas of the boulevard. The specific plan does not currently regulate density, but the density district would establish the density allowed in different areas of the boulevard. The SP would house any specific plan regulations which could not be folded directly into the previously mentioned districts, such as the project impact assessment fees. And any established CPIO would identify properties eligible for development bonuses available in exchange for community benefits. The Community Benefits Program is a new zoning tool that can be implemented under the Community Plan Implementation Overlay, or CPIO. In exchange for additional development rights, we can incentivize affordable housing, commercial square footage, privately owned public spaces, and community facilities like daycares and full-service grocery stores. We look forward to working with the community in identifying potential locations where this tool can be applied, as well as determining the incentives that could be available for each community. The guiding principles support the overarching Southwest Valley goals while responding to the unique characteristics of each community plan area. These have been mentioned throughout this presentation and can be viewed with more detail in our website. These principles will guide land use and zoning decisions in each community plan and can also influence future development in the specific plan. As we can see in this slide, some of the principles include accommodating anticipated growth in a strategic, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable manner, humanizing streets to promote pedestrian activity, strengthening employment hubs and corridors, enhance the quality of life by promoting complete neighborhoods, support a mix of commercial uses, raise design expectations, and create an equitable and accessible public realm with bikeable, walkable, and transit-served streets. We welcome your feedback on these guiding principles. Now, we will provide an overview of the Community Plan Update timeline, next steps, and opportunities for community feedback on these proposals. During the past few years, we had the opportunity to engage with the community in various formats, such as community workshops, neighborhood and council meetings, and community events before we shifted to an online format in 2020 due to COVID-19. We are currently in the consulting stage, which includes the release of the draft GPLU map and draft guiding principles for the 3 community plans and the Ventura Cahuenga specific plan area, which are being presented in these 3-part video series. Our next steps include reviewing and refining the proposed land use maps based on community feedback, as well as working on the next stage to present the draft zoning map and the draft plan text. We plan to present the draft zone map and draft plan text to the community for feedback. Finally, we would like to remind you that this was part 3 of a 3-part video series. We encourage you to watch all 3 videos to learn about the proposals for the Southwest Valley community plans. You may also visit our story map, where you can view the information provided here, as well as explore our interactive map to see proposed changes for any parcel or areas within the community plans. In this 3-part video series, we share the proposals for the Southwest Valley Community Plan Update, and we want your feedback. With this goal in mind, we will have office hours available where interested individuals can set up a time to speak one-on-one with the planning staff of the Southwest Valley Community Plan Update. You can sign up for a time slot that works best for you on our website, planningforla.org/SW-Valley-Plans. Additionally, you may submit any comments, questions, or feedback at any time via email or phone to any of our team members. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you.